So why did I go through all of that or at the beginning in terms of that? So I wanted to talk about becoming a better reader, period. Um, Most people think that when you're playing jazz, you're just noodling, and sometimes you are. Most people think that when you play jazz to a certain extent, depending upon who you are, you don't need to learn how to read music or it's not beneficial because Wes Montgomery didn't read music. Other musicians in other genres didn't read music. Jimi Hendrix supposedly didn't. Paul McCartney. Oh, it goes on and on and on and on. And I don't want to talk about all these so-called great guitarists and musicians that didn't read music. The bottom line is most of us don't have that natural ability. I don't have Hendrix ability. Probably you don't either. Nor do we have Paul McCartney's ability. So it's Wes Montgomery, all these people who so-called didn't know how to read music and stuff. So the first thing I want to talk about in terms of becoming a better reader is that you have to acknowledge not about all the problems in terms of the difficulty of reading on the guitar, all the different positions, the tuning of the instruments and things of that nature that you have to worry about, the chords or things like that. Those are just things and excuses as why a lot of guitarists don't want to learn how to read, right? And along with the fact that the folklore of all these other jazz guitarists and musicians that didn't learn how to read, so therefore, it's you don't need to learn how to read. That's the notion. I'm here to tell you that no matter what you do, learning to read is going to help you musically. Period. It's not going to hurt you. You can play like I started out playing at the beginning of it from that perspective. So once you've made up your mind that you want to learn to read, the first thing I recommend is getting a book. Don't try to learn it online. Don't try any gimmicks. Get a book. Over here, what I'm reading is Sight Reading for Classical Guitar. You don't need to play it like a classical guitar. It's called Sight Reading for the Classical Guitar. It's by Robert Benedict, and this is level 1 to 3. And all I did was play the first 2 lines of it that are on page 1. So that's the first thing you do. Get a book. I recommend books like this. You can also get any method book will do. Classical Guitar, Book 1 by Charles Tunkin. And my favorite is Method. Mel Bay books. Okay, this one's in Spanish, but that's a whole other story. So get a book that's intended to teach you to play the guitar, and that starts off with basic theory. That's the first thing. I like the Benedict book because it gives us a couple of really good advice when we're learning to read. First of all, notch it down when you learn to read. Start off basic. If you have a skill level that you can play a bunch of songs and it's over here, you're gonna have to come down here. You're gonna have to swallow your pride and do things that, well, it's not fun, it's not sexy, or things like that. So once you get into the actual music of it, there are some things that you can do to improve your sight reading. The first is regularly sight reading or regularly working at that. So daily 5 to 15 minutes. Do not try to do this thing for 50 minutes straight, 3 hours straight. That's one thing. Second, once you start looking at the music, first learn time signatures. What's the time signature? The first 2 lines here that I'm doing are 4/4. So that means a quarter note, it's gonna get 1 beat, right? And most of these things that I was playing are whole notes, and that gets 4 beats, right? That's the first thing. Time signature. Learn the key that you're in. Most of these books are going to start off in the key of C. There's no flats or sharps. It's not like something like a key of A with 3 sharps or things of that nature. And then the other one, learn to count the beats. Work with the metronome, but before you even do that, learn to count the beats. By that I mean, I'll just take the first 3 lines in there. Basically, it's all whole notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are all whole notes, 4 beats to a measure. Okay. If you go down to lesson 5 on page 1 in the Benedict book, right? We'll take the first 2 measures on that. They're all quarter notes. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first 4. That's the first 2 measures, right? The third measure starts off with a half note followed by 2 quarter notes, and we're in the key of C. So the time signature is 4/4. So remember, you have a half note and then 2 quarter notes. So half notes is 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That last measure is a whole note. Okay. So I say this, and it's very boring, it's very basic, but in order for you to improve your playing, you have to work on your time. You have to learn how to count an eighth note, one and two and. You have to learn how to count a whole note, a half note, things of that nature. So these are kind of things that you've got to work on. So again, briefly speaking, or at least to summarize this, when you want to learn to read, get a book. The books that I recommend are anything from Mel Bay. Start off with book one, that Charles Duncan book for classical guitar, and this Benedict book that I have right there. So that's the first thing. Once you get into the music, learn the time signature, learn the key that you're in, go slowly. They tell you to read ahead. That's very difficult when you're starting out from that perspective. Learn to clap out the beats. Okay. So basic things, and you'll improve, and of course consistently do it at short time intervals. All right then. A lot of stuff, but in order for you to improve, you've got to work on the basics before you can play stuff that's a little bit more complex at the beginning. All right then. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and as usual, practice, practice, and practice some more.